On August 2nd, 2015, shortly after 3 a.m., 64-year-old Tom Martens made a chilling 911 call, setting off a case that would leave everyone seething with anger.
Davidson County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
We need help.
Okay. What's going on there?
My son-in-law got in a fight with my daughter. I intervened, and I think he's in bad shape. We need help.
Okay, what do you mean he's in bad shape? He's hurt?
He's bleeding all over, and I may have killed him.
He can show you how to place your hands, but I need you to stay calm.
I'm certified. I just can't think.
Okay, you have to stay calm. Let your training take over. 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good. 2, 3, 4.
3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What the paramedics were about to discover upon arrival was a scene straight out of a horror movie. Blood spattered the walls of the first-floor bedroom and adjoining bathroom. On the floor lay 39-year-old Jason Corbett, unresponsive, his head beaten badly. Jason was declared dead at the scene as his wife, Molly, and father-in-law, Tom, were taken in for questioning. But as the investigation progressed, the evidence began to point toward a more sinister plot for revenge.
Without Tom Martens' heroic efforts that night, Molly would be dead.
On February 12, 1975, Jason Paul Corbett was born to parents John and Rita in Limerick County, Ireland. He and his twin brother, Wayne, were the youngest of 8 siblings, which included 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Jason was well-loved and considered a gentle giant who enjoyed having a good time.
Jason, he was an amazing human being. When he was young, he was fun and vivacious, a little bit giddy.
After moving away to the city for work, Jason met Margaret Mags Corbett in 1997. After years of dating, Jason proposed to Mags in 2002, while on holiday in Barcelona, Spain. They married in June 2003 and welcomed their first child, Jack, in September 2004, and started building toward a future together. After the birth of their second child, Sarah, in September 2006, they moved into their dream house.
They were just so happy and so excited with life and so enthusiastic about it as well. And they had Sarah, and, I remember them saying that their family was complete. They had their little prince and princess.
But their happy lives were struck by tragedy. On November 21st, 2006, Mags suffered an asthma attack. Despite Jason's efforts to save Mags, she passed away on the way to the hospital.
Mags woke Jason to say that she was feeling wheezy, and he set her up. She started to take her nebulizer, and she started to get progressively worse. We found out later, they called him in and told him that she had died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
Both Jason's and Mag's families rallied around the young father and helped him raise the children with love. Although surrounded by family, Jason wanted his children to be raised with more structure in their lives and decided to hire an au pair. After 2 failed attempts at hiring a nanny, Jason advertised for someone fluent in English and willing to work on a more permanent basis. The advert was answered by 24-year-old Molly Martens from Knoxville, Tennessee, in the United States.
Jason was a 31-year-old widower with 2 tiny children.
He decided that he needed support and decided to engage the services of an au pair. That was Molly Martens.
Not only was Molly a graduate of Clemson University in South Carolina, she was also a Montessori teacher and an Olympic-class swimmer. To Jason, this was ideal as she would offer his children the best care money could provide. In March 2008, Molly had arrived in Ireland and Jason and the children took to her immediately. She was quiet and shy, and the Corbett family were also very fond of her gentle nature with the children.
She loves other people more than she loves herself. I would describe her, even growing up, as just remarkably altruistic.
She was good with the kids. Jason started to smile a bit more.
There was definitely something between them. The two of them looked very happy. Jason was always the romantic type. He shouldn't have been alone for the rest of his life.
However, it soon became apparent that Jason and Molly had developed an attraction to each other. Though worried at first, Jason's family accepted Molly into their family, and their relationship started to progress quickly.
He liked her. She seemed gentle with the kids. We started to see, a little glimpse of the old Jason coming back, that he was just, not so sad all the time.
In June 2011, Jason and Molly got married in Knoxville, Tennessee, and relocated to Winston-Salem in North Carolina. Jason was able to transfer from his job as a plant manager for multi-packaging systems from Ireland to Lexington, North Carolina. After moving into a gated estate, Molly had also started work as a part-time swim instructor at a local swimming club. The young family appeared to be living their best life, and it seemed as if things were finally falling into place for everyone. On the evening of August 1st, 2015, Molly's parents, Tom and Sharon, paid the couple a surprise visit. They had arrived around 8 p.m. that evening after making the 5-hour-long drive from Tennessee to North Carolina. After enjoying a pizza dinner and a few drinks among the adults, everyone retired to their rooms. Tom and Sharon had slept in the basement room, Jason and Molly in the main bedroom on the first floor, and Jack and Sarah in their rooms on the second floor. Just before 3 a.m., Tom had suddenly woken up. He was not sure what had disturbed him, but could hear thumping and shouting coming from the first floor. Sharon had also woken up after being disturbed by the sounds from the floor above. Tom told his wife to stay in the bedroom as he grabbed the baseball bat he had brought for Jack and made his way upstairs. The commotion was coming from Jason and Molly's bedroom. Approaching the room, Tom opened the door and watched in horror as Jason choked Molly. When Jason saw Tom standing with the bat in the doorway, he angled Molly in front of his body while still maintaining her in a chokehold.
So I opened the bedroom door. He's got Molly by the throat, like this. He sees me coming, and he goes around her throat, like this.
Tom then asked Jason to let Molly go, but Jason did not relent. Instead, Jason started to move toward the adjoining bathroom and warned Tom to stand back or he would kill Molly. Acting on pure instinct, Tom lunged at Jason and hit him on the head with the bat. Jason grabbed the bat with one hand while still holding Molly in a vice grip with his other arm. Spurred by adrenaline, Tom had gripped the bat hard and shook Jason off. This caused Jason to lose his balance and his hold on Molly, who managed to wriggle herself out of the way. Enraged, Jason started to fight back, but driven by a need to protect his daughter, Tom continued to hit Jason on the head. After a short but violent tussle, Jason fell to the floor and had stopped moving. It was then Tom had called Davidson County 911 and reported the incident. When police and paramedics had arrived moments later, they were greeted by a visibly shaken Molly and Tom. He told officers at the scene that Jason had been drinking heavily the entire evening and had attacked his daughter, Molly. They made their way into the Corbett's home and had discovered a gruesome scene in the first-floor bedroom. Jason lay naked on the bedroom floor, his head badly beaten. The furniture had been shoved around and blood splatters were evident on the walls in the room and hallway leading to the adjoining bathroom. Paramedics started to perform CPR on Jason, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene. After Jason's body was removed from the house, the crime scene investigators got to work gathering evidence. At the same time, Molly and Tom were taken in for questioning by the police. At this station, officers took photos of both Molly and Tom and sat down to interview the pair about the night's events. Tom recounted finding Jason choking Molly, and his instinct to protect his daughter overtook all reason.
He's got Molly by the throat. I hit him with a baseball bat. And he reaches out and he grabs the bat. And he's stronger than I am. And he pushes me down. And I'm scrambling on the floor, glasses fall off. Now I'm thinking, who's going to kill me?
He also mentioned to the officer that he did not particularly like Jason, but they had been cordial with each other. As the interview ended, Tom had made a startling revelation.
First wife died in mysterious circumstances. Finding was that she had an asthma attack. In its car. She died of a 6-inch.
In a separate interview room, Molly told the officer a similar version of what happened that night. She added that the fight began after Sarah had a nightmare and came to their room. Irritated by Molly constantly babying Sarah, Jason started to argue with Molly. Feeling safe because her parents were in the house, Molly stood her ground with Jason. She had not expected the fight to escalate to such an extent.
Is that a normal land? Yes. So there's a history of domestic violence at the house?
Yes.
Was Jason praying this evening?
Yeah. Yes.
Would you say that she thought he was drunk?
Yes, he was drunk. He choked me, couldn't let me shut up, and he screamed.
When asked about the bloodied brick that was found in the room, Molly explained that she and the children planned on painting the brick, and so she kept it in her room. She then admitted to using the brick to hit Jason because she feared he might overpower her father and kill him.
I hit him on the head.
Molly told the officer that this was not the first incident of domestic violence between her and Jason, and that their problems had been growing over the years. She was assured that the case was being handled as a self-defense killing.
I didn't think so.
And this is like, talk to you, Dad, talk to you. This is going to be self-defense, okay? I don't think there's going to be an issue with that.
Tom and Molly remained at the station for 7 hours before being allowed to return home. But as the investigation progressed, family tensions would be revealed, and the media would be embroiled in a story with more than two sides. Upon receiving news of Jason's untimely death, the Corbett family had flown over from Ireland to be with the children and find out more about the circumstances of his death.
Who called you to say what?
Sharon Martens called me at about 6:10 in the evening. Molly Martens' mother. And she just said that Molly and Jason had an argument. Molly pushed Jason, Jason hit his head, and Jason is dead.
The family, particularly Jason's sister Tracy, was shocked to discover her brother was being accused of domestic violence. It soon became clear to investigators that the relationship between both the Corbetts and the Martens was filled with tension. Following Jason's autopsy on August 3rd, 2015, Molly wanted to have Jason cremated, but Tracy was against the idea. In the end, Molly agreed to allow Tracy to take Jason's body back to Ireland only if his family were willing to pay the cost for all the funeral arrangements.
So we ended up where there was two sets of attorneys actually negotiating with Molly Martens for her to sign the release paper so we could send Jason home to his parents. And she eventually agreed once we paid all expenses up to that day and for anything after that.
At the same time, a custody battle was brewing between Molly and Tracy for guardianship of both Jack and Sarah. The children, who had been living with Molly at her brother's house in Charlotte, North Carolina, were taken into protective custody by the Department of Social Services. Within days of Jason's death, Molly contested Jason's will, in which full custody of Jack and Sarah was awarded to Tracy and her husband David. In the end, the court upheld Jason's last wish and awarded full custody to Tracy. The Corbett family returned to Ireland, and Jason was laid to rest in his hometown of Limerick, Ireland, on August 23, 2015. Molly had tried several avenues to reach out to the children, and these included contacting them via social media and reaching out to Irish newspapers and radio stations for assistance. But all of these attempts had failed. Molly's determination had reached the ears of the media, and soon her personal life would become the center of a media circus. Both the families and close friends of Molly and Jason began speaking with several newspapers and television shows regarding the true story of the couple's relationship. Those who knew Jason insisted that he was not the monster Molly had made him out to be. Rather, they described Jason as being a gentleman who was a romantic at heart and had great love for his family. Mag's family also denied ever making remarks about Jason being responsible for her death, a claim Tom had made during his initial interview with the police. On the other hand, friends of Molly told reporters that Jason was controlling and that she was unhappy with their life since moving to North Carolina.
Things weren't right. Like what? Controlling behavior, some of the bad language and calling her names, and then it just progressively got worse.
The Corbetts countered these reports and told the media that prior to the wedding, Jason was already having doubts about his future with Molly. The family revealed that shortly after Molly started working for Jason, he discovered she had lied about her qualifications and her past. Molly never graduated from Clemson University, nor has she had a qualification as a Montessori teacher. A former roommate of Molly's also alleged that Molly lied about having a sister that died as a child. Most damning of all was the allegations made by Molly's ex-fiancé, Keith McGinn. According to Keith, he and Molly had been living together for a year before she decided to go to Ireland to work for Jason in March 2008. He revealed that Molly had ended their relationship by email after a week of living in Ireland. Keith also told reporters that Molly was diagnosed with a mental health disorder and was unfit to be a nanny, as she had spent some time in a psych ward just weeks before leaving for Ireland.
First time I met her, I was just floored because she was stunning. To her credit, she did tell me early on that she had bipolar. She was no longer able to work or anything.
Molly's image was being dragged through the dirt by the media. It had made people and investigators question the reliability of Molly's statements. Rather than question family members who seemed to be divided, they looked for answers in the paper trails left by the couple and the friends and neighbors they had lived among. Investigators discovered that both Jason and Molly had visited separate lawyers soon after getting married and were considering divorce. Molly was told that she would only have rights to the children if she legally adopted them. To investigators, it looked as if the children were the main concern of both parents. It seemed like a valid query, so investigators moved on to questioning friends of the couple. Jason's friends described him being a fun-loving person who cared deeply for his family. However, Molly's circle of friends said she complained about her marriage and Jason's excessive drinking, which often led to violent arguments. Neighbors had also said that the couple appeared to be happy on the surface, but there was instances of friction. Sometimes Molly would bait Jason about his weight during neighborhood cookouts, which would then lead to a heated argument between the couple. Opinions appeared divided about their relationship, so investigators looked back over Jason's autopsy results. The coroner, Dr. Craig Nelson, who performed Jason's autopsy, confirmed that Jason had died due to blunt force trauma to the head. But there were a few inconsistencies. The coroner could not determine exactly how many blows to the head Jason received, but he did estimate that there were at least 12 heavy strikes aimed at Jason to cause that much damage. The majority of the blows were aimed at the back of Jason's head, which made investigators question why Molly and Tom needed to defend themselves from a man who had his back to them during the attack. Another fact pointed out by the coroner was that a few strikes had occurred post-death, as there was no fresh bleeding around those wounds. The toxicology report provided another layer of fresh questions. Both Molly and Tom insisted that Jason was drinking heavily that Saturday night before the fight, and it was the alcohol that fueled his rage. However, Jason's alcohol levels were fairly low for a man of his size and would not have affected his cognitive abilities. Dr. Nelson also pointed out another curious detail: trace amounts of trazodone, a powerful antidepressant and sleep aid, were found in Jason's toxicology reports. This led investigators to look into Jason and Molly's medical histories. Armed with a warrant to look through the family's medical history, investigators discovered that Jason had been to the local clinic a few weeks prior to his death. Upon speaking with the nurse who dealt with Jason, investigators learned that he had complained of feeling agitated, irritable, and prone to random bouts of anger in the preceding weeks. These symptoms were linked to side effects associated with the use of trazodone, but Jason had not been prescribed the pill. Digging deeper into the files, investigators found that on July 30th, 2015, Molly was the patient who was given a prescription of the medication. With this new information, investigators returned their attention to the physical evidence from the actual crime scene. The blood spatter expert, Stuart James, pointed out inconsistencies with the pattern of blood and the statements given by both Tom and Molly. James stated that while looking at the photos of the crime scene, there were several dents made on the wall. This indicated that the bat may have hit the wall as Tom tried to fight off Jason, but it also pointed to the possibility that Jason was already fallen or had fallen to the ground at that time. Furthermore, the height of the blood splatter proved that Jason would have either been kneeling or lying close to the floor when he was hit. If Jason had been standing when he got hit, blood would have sprayed much higher on the walls and parts of the ceiling. James had also taken a look at the blood spatter on both Molly's pajama pants and Tom's boxer shorts. In his expert opinion, the pattern of the spray was evident that both Tom and Molly would have been standing above Jason while he was being hit with the bat for blood to appear on those areas of their clothes. There was also blood spray found on the bed sheets and pillow, indicating that the first blow to Jason's head could have started while he was still lying in or sitting on the bed. First responders remarked that when they had assessed Jason, his body was cool to the touch. It appeared as if the call for assistance was delayed by the Martens. They also noticed that Molly or Tom refused medical assistance when offered and did not have much blood on their clothes, despite trying to perform CPR on Jason. Photos of both Molly and Tom were taken by police officers before they were questioned. In the photos, neither Tom nor Molly showed any signs of injury. This was a curious point of the investigation, as both Tom and Molly had described being involved in a violent attack with Jason and appeared to be unscathed. Though investigators could not truly determine the state of Corbett's marriage, they did ponder over the self-defense claim. The fact that remained was that Sharon, the only other adult in the house, did not rush out to check on her daughter and husband despite the anger they were facing. Her disinterest in the situation happening on a floor above her room was suspicious. There was also the apparent surprise visit of the parents made to the couple that Saturday night when phone records showed that several calls had been made to Molly's parents prior to the visit. Investigators also questioned the disappearance of Jason's laptop. When they had gone to search the home for devices belonging to the couple, Jason's laptop was nowhere to be found. Yet, Sarah had mentioned that she saw her father working with his laptop the night before the incident. Investigators wanted to look through Jason's computer to verify Tracy's claim of him being in the process of booking a flight to return to Ireland with the children. Then, there was the comment made by Jason's neighbor. The two men had spent the afternoon of August 1st, 2015, mowing their lawns before relaxing with a few beers. The neighbor described Jason as being in good spirits, but not drunk enough to fly into a rage. This remark was in direct contrast to both Molly and Tom's statements of Jason's intoxication. With the wheels in motion, investigators were starting to wonder if Tom and Molly had planned to kill Jason after all. Investigators and prosecutors developed possible reasons for Molly wanting to be rid of Jason. There was the fact that Molly had desperately wanted to be a mother to both Jack and Sarah and had made several attempts to gain custody after Jason's death. Interestingly enough, investigators also found that Jason had a $600,000 life insurance policy that could have proved tempting for Molly. But most incriminating of all was the crime scene photos that experts believed showed Jason was attacked while in a prone position and couldn't have posed a threat to either Tom or Molly. Prosecutors utilized this information and were able to issue arrest warrants for both Molly and Tom and charged them with second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter. On December 18, 2015, Tom Martens and Molly Corbett were arrested and both pleaded not guilty to the charges. They were both able to make the bond of $190,000 each and were released from jail on January 4, 2016. The trial for both Tom and Molly was to be held together, and the trial began on July 17, 2017. The defense team had to rely on the self-defense claim made by the father and daughter. To their disadvantage, they could not use the statements made by Jack and Sarah after Jason's death, as they had recanted their statements since moving to Ireland. The defense also moved to have Tom testify rather than Molly. In his testimony, Tom told the jury about the night Jason was killed. He described the fear he felt and the danger that both he and Molly faced with an enraged Jason. In his description of the events, he painted an image of himself and Molly being overpowered by Jason and in mortal danger. He maintained that he had to use whatever strength he had in order to fend off Jason and protect himself and Molly.
I certainly felt he would kill me. I felt both of our lives were in danger. I did the best I could. Once I got control of the bat, I hit him until I considered the threat to be over. And when I considered the threat to be over, I quit hitting him.
Did Jason make it
the threat to be over when he went down?
The prosecution honed in on Tom's testimony and brought the jury's attention to the photos taken of both Tom and Molly following the attack on Jason. They pointed out the lack of injuries on both father and daughter despite Tom describing a violent fight for survival. Prosecutors added that a man of Jason's size would not have left either defendant without any injuries. But it was the crime scene photos and testimonies of the blood spatter expert, Stuart James, and coroner Dr. Craig Nelson that the prosecution relied on. James described the scene as one akin to overkill. On August 9, 2017, the jury returned with a verdict after 4 hours of deliberation. They found both Tom and Molly guilty of second-degree murder, and they were sentenced to 20 to 25 years in prison. While Tom remained calm, Molly cried and pleaded for forgiveness from her mother. But this was not the end of the story. The defense team appealed the jury's verdict, stating that jury misconduct was evident in the initial trial. They argued that the jury formed an opinion of Molly based on media influence and that some jurors admitted to discussing the case despite being ordered not to by the judge. The appeal was denied, but the defense did not rest yet. In 2021, an appeal was made at the North Carolina Supreme Court, and this time, a retrial was granted. Tom and Molly were both released from prison, and the retrial was set for November 2023. At the retrial, both Tom and Molly agreed to take a plea deal. The terms of the deal were that the second-degree murder charge was to be dropped, but Tom would plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter, and Molly would plead no contest to voluntary manslaughter. This meant neither denying nor accepting guilt for the death of Jason. This time around, the defense was able to use the statements of both children and argued that it was only recanted after they moved to Ireland.
There are a number of statements from the children, including "Dad got mad for no reason." It was error to exclude them.
They also played the recording of a fight between Jason and Molly. Their tactic had changed, and they zeroed in on the allegations of domestic violence against Molly. Jack and Sarah were present at the trial and begged the judge not to reduce Molly's sentence and avoid falling under her spell. After much deliberation, both Tom's and Molly's sentences were significantly reduced to a minimum of 4 years with credit for the time they had already spent in prison. Tom and Molly were released from prison in June 2024 on the condition that they would not be living under the same roof together. The case of Jason Corbett has divided many, as no one really knows if there was an element of domestic violence in the relationship or a case of gaslighting on Molly's behalf. It is one that is ultimately left to the viewer to decide, but given all the evidence presented and the complications along the way, we would like to hear your thoughts on today's case. Do you think it was self-defense or a cover-up for murder? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you found today's video interesting, please consider subscribing to M7 Crime Storytime. hit the like button, and share our videos with other crime aficionados. Also, if you have any crime story that you would like us to cover, leave us a message in the comments section below. Until next time,